Okay, so did we already do introductions? My apologies. This is like my life for the past like 2 weeks. Okay. So do we do introductions, Sean, Jessica?
If you would like to, yes. I think we have about 14 people so far. So.
Oh, okay, great. You want to give it like a few minutes or?
Yeah, we're in no rush, man. So we won't be considering your time though, but we don't know if, how long it'll take. So we're pretty much like flexible in time right now.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Because like I said, my daughter's like in the middle of doing homework. All right. So my name's Tony. I'm a PA, practicing PA at Communicare right now. I practice family medicine in Woodland and Davis and West Sacramento. I do that pretty much full time. And then I'm also a street medicine PA through the organization that I founded last summer, which is called Sacramento Street Medicine. Sacramento Street Medicine right now, we have about 7 or 8 street teams that do 2 or 3 visits a month. We care for the homeless. We go out into the encampments, under the bridges, along the river, all over Sacramento. Literally, like Sacramento's huge. We have so many different encampments to touch base with, but the organization has grown pretty significantly. I think within all our teams, like leadership wise, we probably have about 30 to 40 leaders consisting of like PA students, medical students, physicians, and then the leadership board, such as myself, our medical director, Dr. MK Orslack, and a few other people. Alongside that, so I practice family medicine. I do street medicine with Sacramento Street Medicine, and then I also have been mentoring students. Both my brother and I have been mentoring students for almost 10 years now, which is pretty crazy. And so we've been mentoring students for, so many years. We were like, hey man, like we need to bring this to the masses, because the majority of our students do extremely well and are at some of the top universities all across the country: Harvard, Columbia, Yale, USC, UCLA, Stanford, Berkeley, UCSF. I mean, you name it. Like they're just doing some amazing things. And so we provided a platform. We wanted to like give this platform for the students that were coming on, because we get students pretty much daily reaching out to us, and we just don't have the bandwidth to take everybody, on one-on-one. So we created this platform called Brainbox Methods, which is a platform that gives the resources and allows any student to be successful in college, both as a student and then and professionally. So it's not just in college. Certainly, developing your mindset, making sure that you get the grades academically, but also all the things that you need to do to succeed, both as a student, as a professional, and a leader in your community. And so I do all those things, but I'm absolutely passionate about what I do. My weeks are probably like 80+ hour weeks, on top of the fact that I have a daughter. So I'm a father. I'm a father first. But I am an alumni of CSUSB. I love the Coyotes. And I went to the Keck School of Medicine of USC on a full ride scholarship as an NHSC scholar, which was pretty crazy. And now I'm here. So anyway, okay. This is going to be kind of crazy because I don't have the computer. I'm literally on my phone, guys, because my daughter's using my computer as she does some distance learning. So they're going to kind of go through the PowerPoint while I speak. So bear with me. So I've spoken on this, on PA and the power of PA, like how incredible the PA profession can be, like all across California, UCLA, USC, basically all the schools I mentioned, other than UCSF. I haven't touched UCSF yet, though I had something scheduled prior to COVID. But anyway, okay. So anyway, let's jump into it. I want to try to knock this out for you guys within 30-40 minutes, so we can leave some time for questions. If we could stack the questions and make sure maybe somebody can moderate the questions. Also, if this thing's recorded, I would love to get a copy. Sean and Jessica, I think. Cool.
Gotcha.
All right. Excellent. Let's do this. All right. So I usually do this workshop with my brother. My brother Eddie. He may drop in. I get care PA. He's a badass. He does me that are done wrong. He's actually the one doing them right in the ICU, and like he's like the last line of defense. And he's a PA as well. He's a critical care PA. He does like chest tubes and tracheotomies and lumbar punctures and all kinds of crazy stuff. So anyway, all right. So that is we are going to go over the PA workshop, which is essentially everything you need to know to get into PA school. All right. So first and foremost, medicine is a long journey, guys. It is arduous, both as an undergrad, as a graduate student, whether it's PA or medical or PT or whatever it is. It's an arduous journey. It's a long, many years of schooling that most people don't want to take on. And so it's really important to start with your why. And right here I have my father on the right-hand side, who is, unfortunately, my brother and I lost him to cancer when I was 18 years old. And medicine was like the last thing that I wanted to go into. And it wasn't until I did a health disparities research at Cal State, actually, that I had realized that he had gone through like a good amount of health disparities. And so it pushed me into medicine. It pushed us both into medicine. Actually, like 2-3 years after he passed when I was 18, I didn't get into medicine until I was like 21, 22, if you could believe it. On my left, there is my daughter, Cece. She is like literally the reason why I do everything that I do. I was on the verge of not taking this opportunity to go to USC until they called me like 2 days before to say that I was on a full ride scholarship. And so I took it, and I flew literally from Los Angeles to Sacramento, which is where I stay, every other week to be with my daughter, which was literally insane on top of all my work. But in any case, okay, so that to say is literally, guys, you really make sure that you're being cognizant of your why. Why is it that you're doing this thing? Like Nietzsche says, it's, if you have a strong enough why, you can endure almost anyhow. And so one thing we tell our students is like, really like take time every week, if not every month, to kind of refresh yourself and like remind yourself as to why you're doing what you're doing. Now, the pathway to PA. Now, these things are like applicable to any career. Now, some of you guys might be going to PA, maybe thinking of MD. Maybe I know a few of our people are thinking about going to PT school, but these are applicable to everything. Like outside of the like actual graduate exam that you need to do that are required at some schools, this can be applied to any field. Why? Because you want to be a holistic student, you want to be a holistic applicant. And that starts with volunteer experiences. So volunteer experiences, you can do any type of volunteer experiences in PA, or to pursue PA. If people are taking notes, I want people to take this note. And this is regardless of whether you're going to PA, MD, or PT, or wherever you're going for graduate school. And that is, there's something we call a 70-30 rule. Now, I stayed on the admissions committee at USC, and so I was no, it's okay. Sorry. I sat on the admissions committee at USC, and I you can go back one, Jessica. I sat on the admissions committee at USC, and these are the things that I just pulled away from. And one thing that we give this piece of advice to all of our students. So there's something called the 70-30 rule. Regardless of whether you're looking at like volunteer experiences, leadership experiences, internship, anything with regard to research or whatever, the 70-30 rule says this: is 70% of whatever that experience is should be in your field of interest, whether it's medicine, whether it's law, whether it's PT, whether it's MD, whatever it is. It should be 70% of that should be what everybody else is going to do. right? The hospital, the PTA, the, working on the ambulance, scribing, those kinds of things. The 30% is what makes you you. Like what things are you passionate about? What experiences can tell the admissions committee that's looking at some, lines on a piece of paper or on a computer, tell something about you, right? Whether that's you have a passion for giving to the disabled, you have a passion for giving to the homeless, right? The homeless is a little tricky because everybody kind of goes to like the shelters and those kinds of things, but the trick is that like everybody's going to be doing all the things that you're assuming that they're going to be doing. So like I said, the common volunteer experiences, the way to step out of that is to put the things on your application or on your within your resume that you wouldn't think would be necessary, would be like valuable information. For example, I had one student that was applying to USC and she was talking about her volunteer experiences, and I asked her, I was like, well, what other things are you passionate about? And she told me that she wrote children's books, and she's from the Philippines, and she wrote those children's books so she can go back to the Philippines and then read the books to these little Filipino children, because they don't have any access to a library or access to books. And I said, like that, and she's like, oh, I didn't think that was important to put down, because like I just like it's not has nothing to do with medicine, has nothing to do with this. Like that's amazing. Like that makes you unique, right? Now I'm not saying like everybody's going to be writing children's books and taking them back to the Philippines, but there are things that you may think that have nothing to do with what you're applying for, but they do, because it shows us something. Okay, so anyway, so volunteer experiences, it's pretty self-explanatory. I say at least 10 volunteer experiences on your application. Leadership experiences, this is things like joining clubs, right? Like what we're doing here. KSA, I was either president or vice president. I can't remember. It was so long ago. But the idea is that your officership, right? Officership is leadership. And so before we started this call, I had asked the people running this, like, hey, like how many clubs are you part of? And the reason being is because you have an opportunity to be a leader in multiple clubs, right? And it's never too late, because you can literally professional memberships and leadership kind of go hand in hand. And I'll show you how. Is that professional memberships are your clubs, right? You can literally sign up for 5 clubs today at Cal State, and that increases your resume by 5 points. But not only that, but within each club, the opportunities that you're going to get from each club are the volunteer opportunities, the leadership opportunities, the research opportunities, the internship opportunities. So if you're only part of one club, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. If you can just, and that can change tonight. You can literally do that. You can literally do that tonight. Okay. Internships are really like super, super interesting. A huge internship that I always recommend to the majority of my PA, MD, PT folk is called the Health Career Connections. Health Career Connections is a phenomenal internship, and it's a paid internship, and they send you all across the country. They have some in Southern California, in Northern California. It's a phenomenal opportunity for those that want to be involved. I think it's a pretty like extensive process. I was an HCC intern by network. I don't think I applied, but I got it through a network, which I think is another like skill, which is like a phenomenal skill that every student should have, is networking. But Health Career Connections is a phenomenal internship. So internships, research, the GPA, everybody's going to have a good GPA, guys. We generally say above 3.2. Hands-on experience. Some people will say like, oh, don't worry about the experience. Like it's they don't have a requirement. The magic number that we say I tell students for PA school is 2,200. a full year of work of full-time work is considered 2,000 hours. So with the magic number, right? If you're working full-time as a scribe for a year, or a phlebotomist, or an EMT, or what have you, it counts, and you essentially hit that mark. Okay. Now let's see. So a lot of people have the question of like, oh, does it matter whether I'm an EMT or a scribe or a, PTA or whatever? Like, it really doesn't, guys. Like, the amount of hours is what counts, because regardless of whether you're an EMT or you've been like an ER tech for 4 years, like, they're still going to teach you how to do vitals. They're still going to teach you how to do like heart rate and all those things, literally from the ground up, they're going to teach you. So it doesn't really matter, guys. Just as long as you're getting the hours. Shadowing. So complete the prereqs, look at what schools you're trying to do, and make sure you're hitting their prereqs. That's pretty straightforward. Shadowing hours, I always say a minimum of 25 shadowing hours, and shadow a few people. Don't judge your opinion on a PA based on like shadowing one PA. That's like the kiss of death. Or like PT, right? If you're trying to do physical therapy and you shadow one PT and you hate it, doesn't mean that that's a representation of all the PTs out there. I promise you, there's a bunch of different types of PTs. There's a bunch of different types of PAs, both in personality and specialty. So don't draw your conclusion based on your shadowing hours, but certainly you need to get your shadowing hours. We generally say about 25 to 50. Right now with COVID, like the virtual shadowing hours, I've done a few of those things. I don't know how lenient they're going to be with that whole thing, but my assumption is that they will be. Okay. All right. So, complete the MCAT, GRE. Yeah, you need to do that. Though for PA school, the GRE is like the last thing we look at. Generally, it's the last thing we look at, as opposed to PA school. The MCAT's like the first thing you look at. For PA school, it's the last thing we look at. And I apologize, that slide took forever. Let's go to the next one. All right, applying to PA school, you do apply through CASPA. It's an arduous process. I would say, give yourself, a few weeks to a month to maybe even 2 months that you're actually preparing this application. Developing a personal statement, guys. A personal statement is so crucial. I can't even like express this enough. Like, if you cannot write, which we also talk, this is why we made this whole thing in Brainbox as well, with like writing, because you can have the best application, you can have the best volunteer experience, the best, patient care experience, but if your personal statement is off, then you're not going to get in. Like, it's literally that simple. And so you need to be having multiple people look at your personal statement. That's just a given. And make sure it's not like your friend or your mom or your family looking at the personal statement and saying like, you did a great job. It should be somebody who has experience in doing these things and knows, because like, this is what you've been preparing for your entire career, right? You've been putting in like 4 or 5, 6, some of you guys 6 years, sometimes even 7 or 8. For me it was 7. So make sure you're packaging yourself well. All right. Completing secondary applications. For those who haven't applied or gone through that entire process, generally you apply to the program and then they send you back secondary applications, or they already have the secondary application once you already describe your intent to apply to that school. And you got to be conscientious, because like the secondary applications for each school is going to differ, and it's mainly going to be around their mission. And that's one thing that in your personal statement, if you're conscientious enough, you need to be tying your personal statement to their mission. Like, if the program that you want to go to, for example, like USC, Now I'm like totally biased with USC, like obviously, but USC always talks about underserved. Like the first day we go to the food bank and serve like as a family, as a class, and we haven't even met each other, right? So they like live that mission. But if you don't mention underserved or how your experience ties into underserved, and you want to go to USC, if you don't say any of that in your personal statement, chances are like it's not gonna go well. Okay, so make sure that you're tying both your personal statement and your responses on the secondary applications to the school's mission, and their goals and their visions and their programs, the things that they have, an interest in, basically. All right. Last one is PA school interview. This one's straightforward, guys. I get this question all the time. It's like, how do I prepare for interviews? Really, it's like practice, man. Just practice. Buy a book. There's we put a book down there. It's How to Ace the PA School Interview book, for those that want to go to PA school. But the gist of it is essentially that you need to just practice and work off talking points. Don't like write your whole response down and become robotic. Like I'm sure you guys have heard this like a million times. Don't be robotic. The way you do that is you get a few talking points for each one, whether it's like a like YPA or weakness or strength or a challenging situation or whatever. You get talking points, and every time you give a response, it's a different response, but you're hitting the same points, because that will help you maintain the fluidity of what you're kind of saying. You can go on to the next one. All right, YPA. So this is a question that you really need to be like honest with yourself and be able to answer this like off the top of your head. Like I personally, with everything that I had done prior to going to PA school, I was a congressional intern in Washington, D.C. I was a policy advocate at the California State Capitol. I worked at UCLA School of Medicine, UCR School of Medicine. I did some work at Berkeley. I did a bunch of stuff, and I was fortunate enough, and I worked in the ER for 2 years, and I worked on the ambulance for a year. So I was fortunate enough to be able to like be have the opportunity to go. I had a partial scholarship to go to medical school and a full ride scholarship to go to PA school. But I knew the reason why I wanted to go PA from the get. And the reason being is because there's a flexibility. Like there's flexibility both in schedule, because being a PA, you can change your schedule however you want. And that's essentially true for physicians as well. But generally, like when you're the last one that they're looking at and you're the only one there, you can't really change your schedule as much as a PA could. That's just kind of the fact of the matter. And it's specialty dependent, but that's the point. You also have flexibility in specialty as a PA. And that for me was huge, because I was like an ER junkie until like I went to PA school. Like I literally worked in the ER the week before I went to PA school. And I loved it. Like I absolutely loved the ER. And I knew that if I went to medical school, I would have ended up in the ER 100%. But I also wanted to be part of like the continuity of care, to be able to have relationships with my patients, to be able to like not only be able to do that, but be able to do things like another specialty if I wanted to. And we have people that do that. My colleagues from USC do that. But it also allows you the flexibility to do other things outside of medicine. If medicine is not like your end all be all, like, Jessica was talking about, she wanted to do business. Like business is possible if you're a PA and you get out of school a little earlier, you're a little younger, what have you. And also having the flexibility in specialty and in schedule to be able to allot those things. And that's how I've been able to not only practice medicine, but also do my thing with Sacramento Street Medicine, do my thing with Brainbox Methods, and work with my students pretty much, 20, 30 hours a week. So it's the beauty of being a PA. Okay, let's keep going. So sorry, my brother's gone. BA's been ranked at the top of Forbes list for literally like, I don't know, 5 years running, like number one or number two. And there's a reason being, because the things I just said, like the flexibility in practice, the flexibility in schedule, being able to have like your impact on patients, and get paid well while doing it, is making everybody in the nation like start up a PA program. Like there are so many more PA programs now than there were when I started. Two of my faculty at USC, while I was at USC, were asked to go find their own PA program somewhere else, and they left and they went and did that. One was UOP, University of Pacific, and the other was Monterey Bay. So Chris Forrest is the program director at Monterey Bay, and I can't remember the other one at UOP. But there's a reason, because like, and PAs are badasses, man. It's such an awesome career. All right, so we can keep going. We can go. I think we talked about this. So what's the difference? Let's go into this. You can go all the way down. You can go all the way down. Just go. Okay, so what is the difference? Most people that go into PA have at least thought of MD DO at one point or another. Now, like I like very few students that I know have like 17, 18 years old, they're gonna go PA, but it's good to know the difference. So as a PA, you're technically an employee versus an owner, though this is changing because there are laws that are coming out to where PAs can run their own practice. In fact, I was just asked last week if I wanted to like own my own practice because of the things that I've been doing in the community here in Sacramento. And I'm like, hell no, dude. Like that's just so much. It's so much responsibility on top of everything that I do. It just doesn't make sense. But it doesn't mean that it's not it doesn't mean that it's not possible, right? And you can own your own things. Like I founded Sacramento Street Medicine. I serve as executive director at Sacramento Street Medicine, and I have doctors that work with me on my board. Dr. M.K. Orsolak, Dr. Kim Lau, Dr. Dwayne Haskins. Like there's a lot of collaboration and ownership in being a PA. Just because you're PA doesn't mean that you can't own things. Dependent versus independent. This is true. Like you are technically dependent on your collaborating physician, whoever's like working with you and like signing your charts and what have you. In surgery, you are a first assist. You'll never be a primary surgeon. This is one one exception where I tell my students, like, if that are in medicine 1 and considering MD versus PA 2, is if you want to do surgery, I would highly consider like MD DO, because like you'll never be the primary surgeon, and I would hate for you to go through all this work and like be resentful in your job. Though I have a lot of surgery PAs that are my colleagues that love their job as you know, in surgery, plastic surgery, plastic surgery, general surgery, urology, which is a surgical specialty, OB-GYN, which is a surgical specialty, and they love their job. So, but it's one thing you just really need to be like cognizant and aware of. Now, the chart co-signature, like this is like a thing where, you know, this is what makes you dependent versus independent. Docs obviously don't have to have their charts signed by anybody, but as a PA, you have to have your charts signed by an MD. But out of 100 charts, you only have to have 5 of them signed by the MD. Everybody thinks like the general public would think like, oh, hey, so like every single chart that I do, I have to run it by my supervising physician. It's just not true. It's just not true. In my practice, I can tell you, I have my own panel. I have a panel of 250 patients that I see by myself. It's myself. I have 2 MAs assigned to me. I have an RN working with me. I have a secretary working with me, and that's my team. And then the physicians that are also there, and another PA that's there. They have their own teams and they do their own thing. And I have a check-in every week with our medical director just to talk about patients. And it's super beneficial for me because we just talk about patients, and then he just tells me like, hey, just like send me the charts that we like talked about, and I'll just look at them and sign them, whatever. And it's super chill, man. Super, super chill. Good versus great income, though. I would say like anything above 110, 115,000 is pretty great income. I wouldn't call it good income. My buddy, makes 175K out of school. Is like, that's pretty great income. I would say it's not good income. I'm on scholarship. I like technically on scholarship, so I get paid significantly less than that, but I'm still making six figures, and they're paying like, I think the scholarship's worth like $285,000. So if you like do the math over 3 years, it kind of adds up. But anyway, all right. Teaching and mission trips. So as a PA, obviously you can teach. I was just asked last week to be faculty advisor and volunteer faculty at UC Davis, which was like an honor for me. I think part of it is because they want to be involved with Sacramento Street Medicine, but it's all good, man. They're gonna help hopefully help fund us. But I'm gonna teach. I'm gonna teach med students. I'm gonna teach PA students. I'm gonna teach the undergrads. A bunch of different stuff. And so you can teach and you can do mission trips. When I graduated PA school, I like literally 2 weeks after a week after I graduated PA school, I went to Ecuador, and I was doing pediatric orthopedic surgery in Cuenca, Ecuador, with an orthopedic surgeon for like 2 weeks straight. And like it was crazy. Like the first 3 days we were there for like 14 hours just screening all our patients, literally like back to back to back. These people drove, like 20 hours, 27 hours, 40 hours on bus, on like it was absolutely insane, and only to get a chance to get surgery. And then so we did like 3 days of screening, basically, like clinic time, and then we spent the rest of the time every day, 12, 13 hours a day in the surgical suite and doing surgery. Though I'm not a total fan of surgery, but like it was pretty epic, man, to be in Ecuador and be doing all that good work. But anyway, okay, so you can do mission trips. That's the point. I was actually just asked to go to Haiti to do some work, which is pretty cool. And I think street medicine can take us like pretty much anywhere. My goal is to go to Calcutta. I want to go to Calcutta. If I can go to Calcutta, that'd be like that's like a bucket list of mine. But you can certainly do mission trips as a PA. There are jobs out there, guys. I get calls almost every day, if not every other day, about jobs, and we just have to tell them, like both my brother and I, like, and all my colleagues, like say the same thing. Everybody's trying to recruit PAs because they're in such high demand. So you'll never be without. That's for sure. But it's a matter of like finding the right job, right? Like I love what I do. I love where I'm at. You couldn't pay me more to go somewhere else where I'm based on where I'm at. I mean, it's just amazing. Just amazing. But anyway, all right. Let's go to the next one.
I didn't hear them.
Give me 1 second.
I didn't hear them when they did the.
Okay, guys, just a quick reminder, if you're here for any class credit, be sure to send me a private message with your name, class you're here for, and as well as faculty who's in charge of the class.
All right.
Oh, Tony, I think you're muted, man.
Sorry, I'm like playing teacher and doing this presentation at the same time, but I think she's done. Okay, good. All right, so select the job that fits your hours. We just talked about this. Is being a PA is amazing, but it can be really like challenging if you don't find the right if you don't find the right job, the right position for you, because whether that's in the right specialty or whether that's, you know, part-time for you, full-time for you, or if it's just the right atmosphere. Some people, like, they love like to go, like the adrenaline rush and those things like that. So maybe the ER is better for you. Maybe you like the chill kind of kickback environment. Maybe like family medicine, a slow family medicine clinic is better for you. Maybe like you only want to see one patient a day. It's like psych is probably a phenomenal like option for you, because they literally see one person a day, or sorry, one person an hour. And it's like, you know, I have a lot of my buddies, you know, asking like, how do you find the right job? You literally just, you're interviewing them, interviewing you when you go into it, because you know that you're a commodity, if you will. And so there are full-time positions, there's part-time positions. You can do 3 12-hour shifts. In the ER, they do 3 12-hour shifts. I work family medicine and I do 3 12-hour shifts. So I have 4-day weekends. So every week, which is pretty amazing. Again, it's just trying to find like that right thing for you. There are no on-call hours. I don't know a single PA that's on call. That's not to say that you can't be on call. You can definitely be on call. But if you negotiate, it's not like docs that, I want to say for the most part, like all my docs are on call at the same spot that I'm working at. They're all on call. I haven't taken one call on, like, at least not, I've never been on call in the past like year and a half that I've been working. But in any case, okay. Second job in another specialty. I know so many people that do 2 jobs. They do dermatology, they do family medicine, they do ER, they do critical care and urology. Like, that's the beauty of being a PA, is that you can do multiple specialties with the same degree. And it's really just about who's willing to teach you, like, and putting yourself out there to do it, because it's challenging. Like, I can't tell you, like, my brother, I said, he's a critical care PA, but like those like first 3-4 months of him like being a critical care PA were like hell, like for him, because he was learning. He was like thrown to the wolves, and like literally like he had to put himself out there so that he can have that, he can be afforded that opportunity, because now he does critical care, family medicine, and street medicine, all 3. But anyway, so it's just a matter of finding out what is best for you. All right. What specialty you can choose? PAs work in pretty much every specialty, guys. I don't know. Honestly, you can just keep going. I think there's a bunch of specialties here, but literally they can work in anything. I don't know. I honestly don't know a specialty that a PA doesn't, that there's no PA. And if anybody knows of a specialty that there's no PA, I would love to know this. But like nephrology, urology, cardiology, pulmonology, pulm crit, critical care, dermatology, urgent care, ER, obviously, OBGYN, psych, family medicine. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, because PAs are practically invaluable. You're essentially doing the same work as the doc. And if you're trained well enough, like, you bring incredible value to your practice and to your patients. So it would make sense that PAs are in pretty much any specialty. I can't believe I'm getting paid for it. Okay, so this one's kind of cheesy. This isn't my presentation. I was actually given this presentation by my mentor, actually Chris Forrest from he's the program director now at Monterey Bay. He's the one that kind of passed the torch to both my brother and I to do this presentation, because he was the one doing this presentation on behalf of USC for almost 10 years, I think. But anyway, yes, like, you do get paid for doing some incredible things. You're practically saving lives, guys. Like, you're impacting lives. Let's go to the next one, I think. Yeah. So where it says you're impacting lives, guys, like, I can't even tell you how many times, like, I've like walked out of a room and literally thought, like, how fortunate am I to be able to do what I'm doing? Like, last week, literally last week, I diagnosed 2 people with cancer. Okay. And early this week, because my team is freaking like phenomenal, I was informed that both of them got all the chemotherapy that they needed, like lined up, all of the surgeries, the bulk surgeries that they needed lined up. And one of the oncologists called me and said, "Hey, I just wanted to say thank you because you literally saved this patient's life. If this would have been another month, this patient would have been gone." And she's like, I let the patient know as well, and she wants to thank you as well. She's gonna be scheduling an appointment with you in the next week or so. And that's the beauty of it. It's like you're playing. You just make such a difference in patients' lives if you really care and you really dedicate your life and your work wholeheartedly and genuinely to this profession. It's incredible. All right. So what are they doing now? Taking it to the streets. This girl is a PA from, I want to say she's from USC, but she's practicing at Venice Family Clinic. They do a lot of street medicine, a lot of like harm reduction stuff, which is like dealing with substance use disorders and those kinds of things. Very similar to what we're doing here in Sacramento Street Medicine, though we haven't been able to dispense meds because of like liability, and it was like during COVID that we were in the process of nonprofit and all this stuff. But we still do visits and do like low acuity care and those kinds of things. But you can keep going to the next one. That's her. She's a badass. All right, these two. This girl on the left is Karen Bass. She is a United States Congresswoman. I think she's the only Congresswoman in the country that has a PA background, and she comes from USC. Not to say like that's just totally biased, but like seriously, she is a badass. I worked in DC for a bit. I didn't know that she was a PA. And I didn't know actually I was going to go to PA school, ended up going to PA school at the same PA school she went to, but we worked in the same room a few times because I was working on the Affordable Care Act in 2013, and she's just such an incredible person. She's just such a badass. And the one on the right is basically one of the main people, one of the main guest speakers, Renee Descoutret at USC. She's like what my brother does now, but like 10 years down the line now. She saves lives like literally on the daily, basically. She's just a badass. She's just such a badass. All right. Notice how they're both female, just saying. Let's go to the next one. Oh, okay. So that's basically it, guys. I mean, look, I think regardless of where you guys are going, you guys want to go to PA, you guys want to go to medical school, you guys want to go to PT, you guys are thinking about OT, whatever it is, like graduate school, right? You guys want to go to the next level. There's one thing to be a good student, but there's another thing to be a great professional, holistic person, to be a leader in your community, right? Like how is it that both my brother and I and a lot of our closest mentees have been able to like instill so much change in the communities that they come from? It's because like they are trained and well established in all of the things that they need to be doing both academically and professionally. And so that's what we do. That's the reason why we founded our organization and our company at Brainbox Methods, to make sure that everybody's on the same playing field, right? Like, why is it that students put in so much money, thousands and thousands of dollars, years and years of experience, years and years of work and studying and doing all these things, and then don't package themselves well enough to feel like, hey, I'm going to go wherever I want to go, right? Because the majority of our students have been able to say, hey, like I have an interview at here, and here, and I'm going to pick like where I want to go. Right. And that is the case. Like a lot of our students have the interviews at the top schools, and they choose, like they're interviewing the people. Like they're not being interviewed. They're interviewing the people. Like, where do I want to go? that's the goal. Like that's our goal for students at Brainbox Methods. And we want to make sure, like, I would be remiss if I didn't like let you guys know, like we have been doing this for a long time, and like our students just find so much value in it. And so if that's something of interest for you guys, you know, let me know. You can follow my personal Instagram is at Anthony_Menacho. Our Instagram at Brainbox Methods is at Brainbox Methods. We're going to be doing a networking event on Saturday, which for me, like, networking is the number one skill that every single student should know. Like literally, there's a reason why I did not do a single interview from the time I was 22 to 26 or 7. For like 6 or 7 years, I didn't do a single interview. And I was in DC, I was in Boston, I was in UCLA, I was in San Francisco, I was in Berkeley, I was in all these places. I didn't do a single interview. HCC, I didn't do an interview. And they're one of the most extensive interview processes for an internship, and it was paid. So how do you network? We're doing that for free. You don't have to be a part of Brainbox Methods to do that. That's on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. I think we just put something up on Brainbox Methods to do that. But if you want to follow us, it's at Brainbox Methods on Instagram. And then my personal is Anthony_Menacho. And then my brother, I believe, is at Eddie Menacho. So with that said, it's 1:50, so we knocked it out in about 40 minutes, guys. Damn, nice. So I'm gonna open it up for questions, guys. I have a meeting with my board here soon, so I have about 25 minutes to answer questions, guys. How many people here we have?
So I do have a question, Tony. This is from someone who wanted to make it today, but they couldn't.
Sure.
So he basically said, how is the process of living? Since I know you can't work during PA school, how does living work? Like, will the program allow dorming? So.
Usually, so I can't speak to like every program. Mm-hmm. I can speak to USC. Like, it's basically loans, guys. Like you take enough loans to live just like you do in college. But like I said, like my biggest piece of advice is like, don't let the finances like deter you from making your decision to go to a specific place. Like if you want to go to Yale, you want to go to USC, you want to go to, you know, some renowned institution, and then you're like, just don't let finances play a role, because ultimately you're gonna get paid handsomely enough to make your loan payment and live very comfortably. And the opportunity that it's affording you, the impact that you can have is far outweighs any sort of financial risk you might be taking. Like that's my biggest pet peeve for students is like, I didn't know I was going to get a full ride scholarship to USC before I applied and accepted the seat, you know. And USC, I think, is the most expensive program in the country. $285,000. Like that's a lot of money. That's after like tuition and all that, after tuition and living expenses and all this stuff. But like, yeah. And, you know, reputation matters. Like I've been told many times, like, oh yeah, like USC, that's a great training program for medicine. And it's allowed like my ability to like grow in the community, you know. Like I was invited to sit down with the Governor Newsom and a few of the homeless advocates and policymakers here in Sacramento. Obviously we're in Sacramento, which is like a hotbed for everything, but literally they always say like, oh, he was trained at, you know, Keck School of Medicine at USC, he's this, that, but like, so it matters. Don't let finances play a role in that.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Hey Tony, I have a question. I have kind of a few, but I don't want to take away from like everyone's time. So firstly, I put the link for your Instagram's Brainbox in the description.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
So anyone wants to take a look at it, go ahead. It's the link to their Brainbox Methods. So my question, Tony, I want to ask you is, asking from like your PA point of view, but realistically, this will help like anyone, PA, PT, OT, whatever. The idea of soft skills. So I've already been exposed to this from like interning and like, properly talking to patients, having empathy, compassion. I want just kind of curious. I understand in PA school or like any grad school, there's like a clinical component. When you graduated, like actually graduated the program, did you feel like comfortable in your soft skills, that you were prepared enough from those clinicals, or was it more so from actually just like finally being done, finally in the field and just having at it basically?
I think everything comes with experience, my friend. Like, I personally felt very, very comfortable with my soft skills, like going into graduate school, going into USC. But that just came with exposure. Like I didn't even say this, but my brother and I, you guys are familiar with the pre-medical and pre-health conference. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. My brother and I founded that in 2012. And so that started with all our networks and the things like that. That started from a piece of paper. So from then to then going to work at Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, and then the House of Representatives and the Capitol, and then in St. Bernardine's emergency room, and then an ambulance, and then UCLA, and then UC, like all those things help you develop your like soft skills if you're like dedicated to them, right? Like I always tell people, your resume is not about like the experiences, right? They're not about the experiences. Everybody's like, oh, like I said earlier, I was like, you can build your resume five spaces, but it's not about the 5 spaces that you build your resume by joining 5 clubs. It's about who you become in light of those experiences, right? Like all those experiences are going to provide you different opportunities to develop soft skills like empathy, like grit, like resiliency, like all of these things, right? And so and a lot of times, like what I find with students is that they don't even know that they've developed that soft skill until like somebody tells them like, hey, like, yeah, that actually like seems like that would be like empathy. And so the way you do this, guys, I would take this note down, and this is for interviews, for anybody that's doing an interview, anybody that's like looking to go to like the next level, guys. These are just little tidbits, but any experience on your resume, you should be able to answer 3 things. And this is with your interview. This is with anything. Number 1, if I point to any experience, and I call it the litmus test. Okay. You guys know what a litmus test is? I'm sure you guys are science people, right? The litmus test is like, you dip the little thing in there or whatever. The litmus test for any resume, for any experience, is that if I have your resume and I point to any experience on your resume, you should be able to come up with these 3 things. Number 1 is a story. Like you paint a vivid story, like whatever the experience is. If I could tell you like my work in DC, I would paint the picture of like having to wake up at 3:50 a.m., get to the, walk, get ready, walk, 2 miles to the metro by like 5:30, and then take the metro from Virginia to the Capitol, which is like an hour and a half, in like a metro, stuck full like sardines in business suits and all this stuff. So a story, like why, like what is the story? And the story should pull some emotion, right? So 1 is the story. 2 is the lesson that you pull from that story. Like what lesson, what soft skill, right? Empathy, resiliency, grit, teamwork, organization, listening skills, yada, 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 right? What skill did you pull from that story, from that experience? Okay. And then 3 is like, how are you going to apply that skill that you learn from that story, from that experience, as a student for this program? And then as a practitioner that you're going to be as an alum from this program. If you can do that with every single experience on your resume, you will get in, and you won't even hesitate during an interview, because all you got to do is think of the experience. Once you think of the experience, you have a story lined up. Maybe you have 2 stories lined up. Maybe you have 3 stories lined up. because with their different soft skills, they're different skills that you pull from. Does that make sense? Like that is the quintessential like answer to like any question.
Yes, thank
You
you
can
so
get
much.
an answer to any question.
We also, I don't know if you have time to answer like 3 more questions.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. So we have 3 people asking questions in the chat. The first one is, you said that PAs can practice independent from physicians. How does that work, and what does that mean for the future roles of physicians within America? Sorry.
I didn't say independent because they're technically dependent. Like the only independent practitioners are the nurse practitioners. Nurse practitioners can be, can work independently. I mean like in actual practice, right? Like policy is one thing. The way they say things is one thing, but the way it actually works in the clinic is a totally different thing. Because I promise you, Dr. Ariema, who I work with pretty frequently, and he's the medical director at Communicare, which is a really big organization. I just happen to be working at the same clinic he works at, but he would go freaking crazy if every single patient I saw, I ran by him, like, because he has his own schedule, right? So really for me, it's like, if I have a patient that's really difficult, then I'm like, man, I don't feel and you know it, like as a new provider, you're like, I'm just not doing this patient justice. Like I'm not doing, there's something I'm missing and I don't know what it is. And if it's urgent enough that it needs to be done in this like next week or so, I'm going to talk to Dr. A, because I don't care what he's doing or whatever, or somebody, you know, you need to do that. And honestly, he would do that too, you know, like he would do the exact same thing. And he has like, he knows that I'm very well studied on my patients. Like if this is a practice that I would do even if I'm a PT or a PA or an MD or whatever. On my way to work, I'm studying, like in the car. On the way home, I'm studying the things that didn't come natural to me throughout my shift. This is every day, guys. So like I'm studying 1.5 to 2 hours a day medicine, and I promise you the majority of the people aren't, you know, in the practice. So he's come to me a few times where he's like, hey, what did you say about like a protein gap and this and this and that? I'm like, oh yeah, like if the protein gap is like above 4, you take the total protein, you minus the albumin, and then if it's a cirrhosis or like, you know, renal hepatic syndrome, like you want to do this and this, you know. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Boom. Like it's a collaboration, you know. The whole independent dependent is mandated by law, but my assumption is it's going to change relatively soon, that PAs can practice independently eventually. But it won't really change anything other than maybe being able to actually open your own practice without having to team up with a physician, is my guess, for those interested.
Thank you so much. The next one would just, we have 2. So the first one is, what are some of the biggest challenges you faced as a pre-PA and working as a PA? And the last one is just, can you recommend anywhere to volunteer or internship?
Sorry, the first one was what challenges did I face as a pre-PA?
Yes.
I think a lot of like, so I'll speak from experience, right? Because we mentor hundreds of students through Brainbox, and we've spoken to thousands of students throughout California and throughout the years, you know, big picture, like 10 years. One thing I think more recently is like struggling doing shadowing hours. Like I didn't struggle doing shadowing, so I was working in the ER and I was like with a PA all the time. So, you know, that wasn't really an issue for me. But I would say, yeah, man, I want to say I was really fortunate. I was super fortunate to be able to surround myself with the right people and be like set up for success to the point where I felt like it was more a formality. Like me applying to a school and like getting an interview and doing these things was more a formality. In fact, I was going to go to Western for school, and then USC called my brother and I and said, hey, we want you to go to USC. I hadn't even taken the GRE. I hadn't even applied to USC. And the next like week we were in the office of the director at USC, and he's like, hey, when you're ready, like send me an email with this card. And so it was like, I was very well set in that. And it's like, honestly, it's so amazing and so humbling to see our students that we've taken on to be able to be in that same situation, because we basically took on medicine pretty late, 22, 23, to actually like find out that you want to go into medicine is pretty late. Some of our students are 17, 16, like they know what they want to do. And I'm like, dude, you're going to blow me out of the damn water. And by the time that you come, like, and they've done it. Like we've done, again, like I said, we've been doing this for 10 years. We have at Brainbox, we have 5 students on scholarship at UCLA School of Medicine. That's just one institution, and people going to PA school all over the country, dental, public health, nursing. We have PT, business, law, like, because the concepts are the same. The idea is not really like setting yourself up for like within the realm of medicine, but becoming a holistic person. How do you develop your mindset? How do you study? How do you prepare academically, professionally? How is your resume? Are you packaged correctly for your resume, for your personal statement, for your application? All of these things, like, all together make an applicant and a student, regardless of where you're applying, invincible, and being able to choose exactly where they want to go. So
thank you so much, Tony. And then just the last one is just where would you recommend to volunteer or internship? I know right now it's kind of all difficult because we're going through COVID, but is there anywhere you would recommend?
Yeah, so I would say, let's see. So Health Career Connections is a huge, like, an amazing internship for those that want to go into medicine, regardless of whether you're doing PA or MD. Is Future Physician Leaders program at UCR. They also have a diabetes health coach, which is another good one. Alta Med has other really good programs. I know the medical director at Alta Med, Dr. Efrain Talamantes, pretty well. He actually spoke at the second pre-medical and pre-health conference, and we sat down in Sacramento here. I sat down like literally right after he left Sacramento, because he came to work at UC Davis for a bit. But he has another amazing stuff. Oh, also, I want to say Mi Mentor. If anybody knows Mi Mentor or is part of Mi Mentor, that's another amazing organization for my minority students. You don't have to be Hispanic to be in it, just saying. But it's another amazing organization, and I believe they offer internships and things like that. Kaiser also has internships. Yeah, there's just so many, guys. There's so many. But those are some good ones.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you for, you're very busy, and we just appreciate you for taking the time to basically just bless us with your wisdom and your experience and everything else.
The pleasure's mine, man. I'm honored. I'm honored. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay. I'll go. Go.
Yeah, so I'm getting a degree in exercise science. I'll be good to like become a physician assistant after like I do the other 2 years.
The other 2 years of
a physician's assistant program.
Oh, okay. Yeah, man, I'm an exercise science major. I majored in kinesiology, minored in biology, and yeah, I mean, I feel you, man. So I did kinesiology, and then I did my prereqs. And as I was doing my prereqs, I was like, kicking ass in the community, man. And that's like really, like, you just kind of do. As long as you have the prereqs, regardless of what bachelor's degree you have, like you're good to go,
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and you can do it, man. Don't let anybody say that just because you come from a Cal State or you're not a biology major, that's total bullshit, man. I know so many kinesiology majors that blow like biology, chemistry majors from UCLA and USC like literally out of the water. Like just because you go to a Cal State, you go to, you know, Joe Schmo school, like if you're doing things in the community and you're doing things consistently and you're doing things that make an impact, people don't really care about at least your undergrad, where you went. Like I'm proud, like I'm so proud that I went to Cal State because like I had students that were next to me at like UCLA and Harvard and all these schools, and we're just like, really like, what are you doing? What are you doing in the community? What are we doing? Like, what impact are we having beyond medicine? It's not just medicine. Like, I feel copped up in the clinic, man, because I there's so many things you can do, and that's why I went PA. Like, I don't see myself being in the clinic 5 days a week, seeing patients 9 to 5. Like, you know, right now, like I said, I have 80-hour weeks, and do, you know, I practice medicine. I work with students. I do Sacramento Street Medicine. I work on the streets. And then now I'm going to be doing this new venture called Invent Sacramento, which is going to serve as a platform for all new and upcoming businesses in Sacramento. Insane. But yeah, anyway. I want to be respectful of your time, guys. If you guys got to go, I have 5 minutes, but it's been a pleasure talking to you guys. If you guys are interested in following us on Instagram, it's at Brainbox Methods. My personal one is at Anthony_Menacho. And yeah, we'll see you there. And if you're interested on being on the Zoom on Saturday, swear on my life, the one most important thing to do is to learn how to network as a student. And there's never too late. Like literally, it can set you up for the rest of your life. Like it literally can change the rest of your life. And it's done it for anybody that we've actually like taken on personally, because we can't touch like, you know, intricately teach every single student. But like, I promise you, networking is the answer. Networking is the key. And we're doing one on Saturday on how to become a networker at 7:30 p.m.
Thank you, Tony.
Guys, thank you so much for being here today. I will be emailing all of you guys the link to this video as well. And for those that couldn't attend, they will also be able to see this great presentation. Also, I will email you guys all of the social media that Tony mentioned. So Brainbox Method, Me Mentor, all of those. And yes, just thank you guys for attending. Thank you so much, Tony. I know you're super busy, so we just really appreciate it. Yes.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys. Appreciate your time and appreciate the invitation to come speak. And I love working with students, honest to God. You guys take care. You guys have a great rest of your day. Keep up the strong work. Study hard. And we'll see you guys soon.
Alrighty, that's it, guys.
Okay, everyone else who's still here, before you head out, make sure that you send your name and then class and professor you're here for credit for towards me before you head out. And I pretty much got everyone, but if you're worried, you could just send it again.
Oh, yes, Mrs. You raised your hand. Do you have a question?
Oh, Jessica, can you finish the recording?
Yeah, of course.